Good morning, colleagues. Am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, thanks. Welcome to the EWCTA SDF training session, colleagues. We are not running the usual annual roadshow as you know it, where we address stakeholders on a variety of issues, discretionary grants, mandatory grants, quality assurance issues, and all of that. That stakeholder roadshow is still coming. It will be around May sometime. That one will be addressed by the CEO and executives. It's got various themes, and you will be notified. It will be advertised widely. However, this session is a focused session. For a number of years, we have been running our mandatory grant applications on a system which is developed by IT Aware. I'm sure most of you are familiar with that relationship by now. The system has also now been upgraded, and we just running a focus session to inform the SDFs particularly about this new system and to give them some training on the system. It is a web-based system which is very simple, and it's anyone who is familiar with the internet can use the system. Anyone who is familiar with an Excel spreadsheet can use the system. I'm operating under the premise that a number of you I know, but I must still do the formalities of introducing myself and the team. My name is Kabelo Masilu. I'm the Skills Planning and Development Manager from the EWCTA, which means the sector skills plan and the mandatory grants administration fall squarely within my department. I'm with Glory, who also most of you will be familiar with. And then there is also Ntombi outside, who is assisting us. We are very grateful for Tshwane University of Technology to make this very wonderful facilities available for us. This session is also going to be recorded so that it can be placed on the web, so that those who are not able to attend training can also see how they can complete the forms. We welcome you to the session. We would still like to apologize for the mix-up in the venues. I still need to establish exactly what where the miscommunication was, but there definitely was some sort of miscommunication about building B and stuff like that. But we apologize for that. We suspect that there might still be other people coming because of that, but we also think it would be unfair to hold people who have been here for some time, to hold them any further. This is not going to be a very long session. We have scheduled it for as a 2-hour session. However, please feel free to engage as much as you'd like to do. I'm going to Bob. Is the dean here? Okay, no, that's fine. If all right, no, thanks. So, colleagues, I'm going to hand over to Yuri Van Zyl, who is from IT Aware, and who is going to then lead you through the system. You might have, we will separate between system issues and maybe administrative issues. So we will sit here and, where there are questions, we will note and then respond to those. If there are administrative questions, we will respond to them, and then he will also respond to the system issues. Thanks. Yuri?
Right, gents, ladies, good morning. Maybe if I could be as forward as to ask if you move one seat up, then I can see you, because I can't move the screen and I can't be standing. If I speak like this, can you all hear me? We'll close the door just now. I see they're bringing us some water. That will also help. Can I just check quickly? Do you all have a copy of this pamphlet? Right. Okay. So, second thing what have you done now?
Gentlemen's getting ready. Do you also alert you to the fact that we have got microphones next to you, but we are recording the session. So when you speak,
we're recording, so I'm looking at the screen. I need to see the full view.
Okay, that's fine. But for now, that's fine. Yeah, okay, that's fine.
the microphone's working.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, so as I was saying, if you want to ask a question, if you just push your finger just below the actual button there, and it will pick you up.
Oh, here we go.
Just make sure all your lights are off if you want to speak. I wish it was that easy with my wife. I could just turn it on.
I actually didn't. All right. You all have a copy of this. Can I just see by show of hands, who of you are independent SDFs? In other words, you are consulting with a variety of CETOs. It is 3 of you. Are the rest of you all related to a company somewhere? Great, okay. So I just wanted to check that. Thank you. So what we're going to do is I'm going to quickly take you through, I'll take you through the process of that you're used to by now. The source data that you're used to by now is the same as what it was in the past. There's a few changes that we've made. I'll talk to you about that, and then we'll take it from there. So the first thing, or the issues of the discussion, is the submission process itself. Then I'll just quickly touch on the guide. In other words, I'm not going to read the guide for you, but I'd just like to highlight those issues in the guide that I think is important for the process and that people usually phone about. Then I'll introduce you to the template again, and then we'll do a systems demonstration. The presentation that you see behind me is available on the internet. I'll show you where to download it. I'm asking that you please print nothing else than what we handed out. We're trying to get our carbon footprint smaller, so please do not print the presentation or any of the other information. You can use it online. People, last year we had a process where we made your verification process conditional to the source data upload process, if you remember correctly. Now the problem with that was that if we make it conditional, it implies that because you first have to have your verification document approved before you can do the upload, the majority of you lost a month in the data preparation process. This year we're saying let's make this a highway or a non-stop process with no stops in it, but a fork here and there in the road. And if we then look at the road that you have to travel, or the process that you have to go through, I'm assuming that after today you'll continue with your data preparation, and then when your detail is ready, that you would upload it, and that you would take cognizance of the fork in the road that we'll talk about, so that ultimately you have your submission finalization, and hopefully that will take place by the middle of April. So I know that the policy is saying, and the Gazette is saying, that it's end of April, but I think we need to be clear in that April does not have work days. So if you plan to submit by end of April, I'm telling you now, you're planning to fail. So On the slide you also see there that I remind you that in the guide there is Annexure 1. Annexure 1 is a project plan. It is it's a suggested project plan, and I'm pleading with you that you follow that project plan at least to some extent, and that you have your submission date middle April, and then from there work back to today. So I think that's quite important. So what are we going to talk about today? Those of you that have computers here, I have asked that they give us access to the internet, which I'm eternally grateful for, because the cell phone reception is terrible in this area, but you should be able to connect via your cell phone as well if you're not in this vicinity. During other sessions I actually use my cell phone to demonstrate the system, so the bandwidth and the traffic on the system is such that the cell phone can connect with it. If you're using Apple, I see an Apple in front of me, it should work on the Apple. We've tried it, it works. We suggest that people use Mozilla Firefox as the internet browser. If you use Internet Explorer, it could work. There's sometimes a glitch here and there, and I'll be demonstrating today using Chrome. So those are just the details of the process. So what are we going to talk about? The registration. Glory, may I please also have some water? So if we look at the registration, yes ma'am. I've asked, you don't have access to it. I don't have it either, that's why my computer is standing over here. They didn't give us access to Wi-Fi. So, yeah. So if you want to connect with your cell phone, try. But I couldn't get reception yet, so that's why I've asked for that. So those of you that can connect via your cell phone, you should be able to register as I speak. And thank you very much. The important thing to note is that you have to re-register using the system. Simply because access to the system is now dependent on your ID number connected to your email address. I'll talk about that just now. Then I'm asking that you consider that you start preparing your source data as soon as possible, and that you then also prepare your training data. While we talk about the training data, those of you that are part of larger companies will remember that last year we had a vertical upload template and a horizontal upload template. The majority of you have said, please, can we get rid of the horizontal thing? We would like to use the vertical template. And everybody is now on the vertical template. I'll explain the significance of that just now. Then when we get to the fork in the road, people, the fork has got to do with your bank details. Now, as much as we want to help you run the process as effortless as possible, you are doing this partly because you want to give the CETA data on your in-house training programs, because that's what the minister requires. But you're basically doing this because you get grants back. And because of you getting grants back, the CETA must be able to pay those grants. And for them to pay the grants, your banking details must be correct. So what you need to realize that even though we are not making the verification process a condition to you uploading your source data, we are saying that the banking details and the verification document is still subject to approval. And that subject to approval is checking whether your banking details that you submit on the verification document is the same as the banking details that is in the CETA database, the financial database. And if they then notify you that the banking details is not the same, in other words, because of some strange reason, there's no sense in arguing it. If they tell you the banking details that they have and what you submitted is not the same, and you phone, because I've heard you phone, and you say, but it can't be because we've used the same banking details for the last 100 years, there's no point in that argument. Then please go the longer route and have the banking details proof resubmitted, so that the EWCETA's proof of your banking details and what's recorded is the same as what you've submitted. So that's where the longer road comes in. Then the other thing is, you will note that in the guide there's mention being made of an extension application that you can do. I think it's before the end of March. So if you are now already knowing that the majority of your, for instance, union people will not be around, then you might consider applying for an extension. You need to know that if you apply for an extension, you use the system for that, and if you apply, the chances are that you won't get an extension, so you can't plan to submit late. You have to wait for the EWCETA to confirm the extension, but let's not go there because it is frowned upon. Then the other thing that once you've used the IT Aware system to get your submission done, the one thing that we've added to the pot is something that to us is very important. A lot of the STFs don't regard that in such high regard, and that is that we would advise that you use your source data that you've submitted to the EWCETA to update your in-house data set. Now let me just explain that. What's happening is that you're submitting your source data and your WSP ATR information to the CETA generates the verification document, you have it signed off. In that process of submission, often there are errors in your data, such as your highest qualifications are all over the show. So the system checks it, you update it. Now next year, some of you asked me to help you. Next year when I look at your data, I find you've made the same mistake again, because what you're doing is you're not updating your house list or your house data. If I refer to house data, it is your HR data, because your, for instance, highest qualification is not a standardized field. Now what we're doing this year is we are giving you in the source data template, I'll show you now, we've changed the headings of 2 of the columns in the source data to make it possible for you to take your source data that you've worked on, give it to your HR people and suggest that they use the source data to update your in-house data set. If you do that, suddenly the person wouldn't have 20 spellings of matric as the highest qualification, but you will have the normalized spelling of what the highest qualification is for matric. Similarly, the organizing framework for occupation mapping system that we use, every year people have to check that, they use that, they update it, but you never tie that back to your house list. So next year when you do an export of your in-house your in-house data set, you have to redo it again. So what we are saying is use your data this year, use that field that I'm giving you, which is a post-reference field, to tie your data that you submitted to the CETA back to your house list. That way your source data is of higher quality, and next year when you have to resubmit this, you don't have to go and do the whole thing again of updating your source data. Because remember, the majority of you will know that you take your post information and that you tie to the organizing framework for occupations and that information. Your individual data, that is your gender and bio information, that you tie to the person. So if you take your source data, you fix it, and you give it back to your HR people, you would use your ID number to update your individual records. Not your ID number, the ID numbers. And you will use the post information to update the post structured data. If you do that diligently, then hopefully for the first time for some of you, but for the majority of you, hopefully that's not an issue, there will be synergy between your BBBE certificates information and your WSP information. Because your house list that you've updated now contains the latest WSP information, and that WSP information, when they do your BBBE certificate, would then be fishing in the same pond. And that usually doesn't happen, and that's why you have auditor findings where there's a discrepancy between your BBBE certificate and your WSP certificate, because you didn't tie the WSP data back to your house list. So that's why we have introduced this. It's not compulsory. We are just trying to say, let's not do this for the sake of compliance. Let's do this because it makes sense, and that's what that is about. Okay, so that's the process. This roadmap is depicted in another version on page 5 of the guide, which shows you just the various steps in the process. And I've made another picture of this, or another depiction of this, in showing you what the website is looking like, and what the tabs are on the website. So once you've registered, I'll take you through each of these steps just now. Once you've registered, you will be landing on the overview tab, and when you land on the overview tab, you will then see that there's an ability to download documents. So please just watch on the screen. I'll take you through the guide just now and explain all of these steps. So you would then download your source data and other documents that are available. I'll demonstrate this in the system just now. Once you've downloaded the documents, you would go to the next tab, which is the SDF tab. Now let me just reiterate once again here. If you register where it says username, please use your ID number, because that is unique, hopefully. Then when they ask you for your email address, you can no longer use your secretary's email address or the previous registered SDF's address, because the system ties your ID number to an email address, and if you use somebody else's email address or ID number, it's going to kick you out, because it'll say it's no longer allowed. If you are sitting here today and you are representing another SDF that has left the company, and I know a lot of you last year continued to use the previous SDF's email address and ID number, please refrain from doing so. register yourself and then register your company under your name, because else your verification document becomes a fraudulent document because it refers to somebody else that you have to sign off on, so it doesn't make sense. So please register as yourself, register using your email address, and then go to the SDF details tab, and please update your SDF details on that tab. The next step in the process is you would then go to the company details tab. Remember, I'm just going to take you through the sequence of events. I'm going to take you through this again in detail. This sequence of events is depicted in the flow diagram, which is on page 5. So you go to company details. If you go to company details and it's empty, it means that we did not associate you with an already registered L number, which is not a big issue. All you then would do is you would click on add company, and you would then add, when you are prompted, you would add the L number or the T number of that company that you're responsible for. If you enter your ID number and your ID number was last year successfully associated with a specific company's L number, or those of you that are consulting with a variety of L numbers, you would then see those L numbers shown on the screen. Then I'm asking you to please go to edit the company, because we've added fields and you will not be able to generate your verification document if you have not edited the company details. Now let me just make that very clear. The edit company details, if you do not enter the field type of entity, and if you do not enter the field province and municipality, the verification document will not generate. And that's why I'm asking, please go through, that's why I'm having the sequence of events, and the same sequence of events is in the flow diagram, so this shouldn't confuse you. When you're done with that, you are then welcome to download your verification document. I'll show you where to do that. The next step in the process is you would then have your verification document approved by having it signed by the relevant people, and then you would upload page 4 of the verification document only. I'll deal with that just now. And then once you've uploaded page 4 of the verification document that was signed, you are then advised that you continue preparing your source data by using the downloaded source data template that you are having on your computer, and then that you prepare that data set. The next step in the process is, once you're done with your source data and you're fairly happy with it, and there might be 1 or 2 errors still showing on the source data, and you can't find them, then I would advise that you continue to upload your source data and then use the system to guide you through the error checks that might have occurred. Because sometimes you have mail in your data set that was exported, for instance, from VIP payroll, and they've exported mail with a space after the E of mail. So when you look at in your Excel spreadsheet, you can't see the space, and if you upload, the system will tell you that it's wrong, and then you can just update it there. So my advice is that you then upload your source data. Once the source data is uploaded, you are then welcome to download your verification document, pretty much like you've done last year. You'll just see the look and feel is a bit different. Once the verification of the WSP is downloaded, you are then advised to check for errors in the spreadsheet, in the generated verification WSP ATR. And those checks for errors, I'll show you now. This year you can actually update and change on the system. You don't have to re-upload, except when you have a duplicate ID number and when you use an invalid OFO code. Simply because if I allow you to update your errors on the system, then the system must know what to update. But if you have a duplicate ID number in your data set, the system wouldn't know which one of the ID numbers to update. So that's why we then say, if it shows duplicate ID numbers, we advise that you re-upload. Ma'am, you're standing at the back. Can I help you in any way?
No, it's fine. I'm just seeing.
Are you comfortable? Thank you very much. So that's duplicate IDs. If you don't have an ID number in your biodata, in other words, you left that cell blank, it will also show an error, and it will also stop you there, because it doesn't make sense to submit biodata without a unique reference in the first column. Okay, so then in those instances you have to re-upload. If you've used an OFO code with 7 digits, it's an invalid code. In other words, the system can't tell you whether you've mapped to the right person, but the system can tell you that you've used an invalid number. The number doesn't exist, and then you will have to re-upload. I'll see if I can give you some examples of that. All of what I'm explaining to you, I'll take you through the guide just now to see where it's explained. The next step in the process is that once you've done the error checks, you would then proceed to fix the rest of the errors online. Once you fix them online, you then once again download your your verification, your WSP ATR again. And when you've downloaded that document that doesn't have a watermark on the first page, in other words, there's no errors in your data, you then take that document as your consulting document via your consulting process. You then have that signed off, and again the last 3 pages of that document you upload. Now let me just quickly explain this. People, last year you did not have this utility. The implication was that the CETA had to wait for the original signed document to arrive at the CETA regional office for them to check whether the signed document is correct. That process sometimes takes a bit of time. What we've now done with the system update, and I've seen it now with MQA, those of you that are with other CETAs, the MQA process is it's the same system. The people don't sign, and I'll show you now, they don't sign each line of the banking details, because your CFO has to vouch that every line is correct. That way making sure that there's no comebacks. Now if you upload the signed verification page, the last page of the document, you don't have to upload the rest because you're going to submit the document anyway. Just upload the signature page by scanning it and then uploading it. The CETA's personnel can then check your signed last page and can respond already by saying to you, don't bother bringing that document to me because it's wrong anyway. That way, saving you time and money. And I've seen quite a few of them. People have uploaded, and what they do is they have their own name spelled incorrectly as the STF. That's why Mary, I asked you whether you've submitted Mary with 1 R. So what they do is they say they've spelled Mary with 2 R's. Spelling error. And then on the verification document they scratch it out, and then the initial next to that. That is an invalid verification document, because you are not to change any typing in the verification document. That's an audit finding. So what you need to do then is, you then have to change the spelling error by going to the SDF detail screen, and then regenerate your verification document, reprint it, and have it, then that one signed, and that's what you upload. So when Glory sees the uploaded document, she can tell you it's invalid because you changed something on the form, or it's invalid because it wasn't initialed, the banking details. So it's not to try and make your life difficult, it's trying to make your life easy, because you know in advance that there's something wrong with the form. And I'll show you just now where the statuses are of what the feedback is on that. Similarly, with your WSP ATR report, you go through the consultation process, you show the biodata to the people, they are happy with what they see, or you consult, and ultimately you get agreement on that process. They then ultimately sign that document, and if you remember correctly, it's the last 3 pages usually are the signature pages, of which the last page is a comments page. Some of you choose to fill it in, some of you don't fill it in. But essentially those 3 pages are the indication to the CETA that the process is completed. So we say, please then have those 3 pages scanned into one document and have that uploaded on the system again, so that the CETA can already check that. And based on that, they can give you feedback. So by the time you bring the original document, they can tell you you didn't sign page 2, or there's something wrong with the form. So that's the logic behind it. Please bear in mind that when you upload a document, whether it's the verification document or whether it is the 3 pages of the WSP ATR report that was signed, if your media center scan those pages as separate files, now please just listen to what I'm saying to you now, and take note, the system will only record the last file uploaded. So if you upload page 1 of 3, it'll record it. Now you upload page 2 of 3, so it overwrites page 1. And if you upload page 3, then similarly, it'll overwrite the other 2. So your media center must please scan those 3 pages as one document or file and upload that. If the media center do not know how to do that, my suggestion is that you make that a workplace skills plan activity to teach them how to do that. Okay, right. So that's the upload process. What then happens is, I've just said it now, the statuses of the whole process. In other words, as you upload, as they respond, as they give you feedback, all of that is at the bottom of the company's details screen. I'll demonstrate that just now. All the statuses are indicated there. Now, what is different from last year? The statuses was never shown before. Secondly, in the past we used to send the clients, yourselves, we used to send status emails. The problem with the emails is sometimes your servers block it and you never get them, and then you keep on phoning us and I have to listen to your dog barking in the background. So what we have now is we're saying it's a self-serving system, which implies that I'm not sending you emails. If you want to know whether the WSP was approved or whether they've commented on it, go to the system and read the status on the system. And if there's a comment such as it was queried, then you would hover with your mouse over the comment or the query, and it'll pop up the query from the administration people to say you didn't sign or whatever. So it's self-serving. There's no more emails, and there's no sense in phoning us to ask for the email because you can see the details there. What this system at the bottom does, remember I just told you about the banking details. When the verification process is completed and it was signed off, it means your banking details is correct. The moment the grants are coming in, which is usually around about May, what we now do is, as the grants come in, it takes 48 hours for the system to calculate the grants, process the grants, and then pay the grants. So it's automated completely. Now with chemical theatre, where we've used this last year, and to some extent with EW theatre, with chemical theatre, people are now want to move to chemicals because of their reputation that it takes 48 hours from the time that the Department of Higher Education gives them the money to the time you get the money in your account. And all of that you can see in the status report at the bottom. So if you're an independent STF and a company would say, when do I get my next grant? You go to the system, you can see that just arrived, the money has just arrived from the Department of Higher Education. It gets vetted, and then at the bottom of the screen you can see where the next payment is done. Self-serving, you don't have to phone, the system is constantly showing that. And those of you that are in companies that have cash flow problems like myself, you will know that money is always useful and helpful. Okay, so that you can check in the process. So that's the overview of the system, except for one last point, and that is the support side of the screen. Now in the past you were welcome to phone, or you were welcome to phone, and between ourselves and Gloria and her team we tried to help you. This year we are saying we need to keep a log of the support that's been rendered. So what we are doing is we are saying we discourage any phone calls. And I'm not being rude or blunt or anything. Simply because some of you give us long stories and it's unnecessary. Okay? So what we do is we're asking that you go to the support screen, click on the support screen, go to the bottom of the support screen, select which problem you've got, and then write us a short story on what your problem is. The CETA staff then has 1 business day to respond to your query. Now, last night I had a very rude email from a lady after 6 saying that this is completely ridiculous. She wants immediate feedback. Then I checked, just after that I got a message from APSA saying that payment was made into my account after 4 o'clock. It'll only reflect 1 business day later. So we are like APSA, 1 business day later. Okay. How it works is, a business day, it is now just before 11. If you log a call now, a business day is not tomorrow 11 o'clock, it is the day after tomorrow 11 o'clock. Now people, I've told you, you must try and cater for middle April. So if you wait for the last week of April to do all of this, and I'm sticking to my 1 business day downtime or response time, you're not going to make it. So please, if there are problems, and I must say at present, I checked at the office as well, all calls have been answered within the AM/PM period. So with the 1 business day thing is the fact that we've built into the structure, but we've tried to respond to calls as soon as it comes in. The beauty of this is, again, you don't miss an answer, because again we will not send you an email unless there's something that I need to send you, such as I see that you've corrupted your template, or you can't download the template for some strange reason, then I will email you the template. But for all other responses, the system will respond by an answer from the operator, and that you will again read on this system. So don't wait for an email. You go back to the system, check this afternoon, did we answer yet, or did Glory answer? Answer is yes, and then you read the answer and respond to the answer. Okay. Yeah, so that's the, oh yes, when you then log a call and after 1 business day you didn't get a response, or you did not like the response, in other words you didn't understand what we told you, then you're welcome to phone, But please be advised that when you then phone Glory or myself or Sajjan, or I wouldn't do it, but somebody would answer to say, please just give me your log number. The reason for that is there are a situation like happened last night, for instance, where the system went down, the technical people were busy with it, and so that specific call was dealt with by Valen, and is still being dealt with by Valen. Now Valen will say pending, in other words, he's busy sorting out your problem. So I need your log call to check whether somebody has not already started working on that. So it's not trying to be funny or to belabor the point or to grow the bureaucracy, because you know what they say about bureaucracy. The only one that yeah, let's just go there. Okay. So we're not growing the bureaucracy, we're trying to render a better service. Okay. Now that's the upside. The downside of this is people that wait for the last afternoon before submission and then quickly want to push stuff through and then write a rude letter to the CEO saying they never got any support. All we then do is we draw a log of your supported calls and they zip, so then the CEO can decide whether there's any merit in your complaint or not. So that's the downside of it. The upside is I think we professionalize the services that we are in here. Okay. So having said all of this, let's get to the guide. People, I'm asking you, pleading with you, please read the guide. It's 15 pages, 20 pages. It's not easy reading, but you have to go cover to cover to pick up the nuances in the guide. What are the focus areas? I'm really going to go through this very fast. Please check on page 4 and page 14, page 6 and 14. Why? Because the template that you download is sensitive to the file save as function. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but are you familiar with the the different versions of Excel? Okay. Are you familiar with XLSM and XLSX? Some of you are looking at me if I'm speaking Greek. Let me just quickly say it. Excel has the ability to contain macros. A macro is an automated process. If you save your Excel file and the extension of the Excel file is XLSM, it means it is macro enabled. The file that you download is macro enabled because it's got that pop-up in there. That's for the OFO update. If you have your IT people, if your IT people had set your computer to automatically or by default save as an XLSX file, in other words the last letter is an X, there's nothing wrong with it, but what they're doing is they're trying to save space on your computer because an XLSX file loses the macro, in other words the file is smaller. But if you then want to reopen your file, the macro will no longer work. And then if you phone us or log a call, we're going to say to you, download the template again and copy your data because you can't get the macro to then continue to work because it read that thing. If you are using XLS or the 2003 version of Excel, anybody? No, I won't embarrass you. I just need to say that you are more or less friends with Noah, because Noah used that version of Excel to counter animals with. Okay, Microsoft is no longer supporting it, so why must we support it? Okay. So please try and consider that for your birthday, ask somebody to buy you the latest version of Office. It's going to cost you R1,000 a year. The point is, XLS, that extension of the 2003-97 version, is extremely heavy in terms of file size. So a file that's usually 5 meg, if you save it as an XLS, grows to double that size. But you can still use it. So we didn't, the Noahs of this world, we respect them, but just know that it's going to take extra bandwidth to deal with that, and it slows the system down. Okay, so that's what page 4 and 16 is about. 6 and 14 is about. Then people, some of you complain about your company, the company name that's on the verification document. So if you look at page 9, I'm saying to you, I cannot change that. Okay, the only person that can change your company name on the verification document is Chuck Norris. Okay, and your CFO. Why those two? Because the CFO has to go to the SARS environment, update the SARS environment with the correct company name. That then comes back via the Department of Higher Education back to us. So I can't now midstream go and change your company name that's associated with your L number. What we did do, however, is we've allowed you to change the trading name. So if you had a merger and the company name was X and it's now something else according to the union people, you need to explain to them in the consulting process the reason why the company name is still what it is not because you're trying to build a Trojan horse. It is because the SAS file has not been updated yet, but the trading name is showing the correct name. Okay, so just please bear with us on that. Now I know some of you, because the other CETA already is doing that. I've got a mail last night on it, saying that they forgot to change the name and the unions won't sign. No, really. The problem is that the L number and the company name is a marriage that was made in the SARS environment. I can't break that. So the trading name we can. So just bear in mind of that. Then, are there any of you that have a need to register children in other words, sub-entities? You've got a main entity, and then you have sub-entities that you use for the submission process. Anybody? Then I'm not going to deal with this, but that's on page 10. Are there any of you that are aware of L numbers that are associated with your company for which you do not submit workplace skills plans? Okay, let me just quickly touch on that. People, last year, one of the companies that we deal with lost 7 million rand in grants. The reason why they lost it is they forgot that they didn't realize that when they submit their workplace skills plan, that L number that they submit against is the only L number for which grants are being pulled. And that specific company had a second L number of a merger that they've done about 5 years ago. But for some strange reason, there were still levies against that L number. Now, the system will allow you, if you go to your CFO and say, do we have any other L numbers associated with our company? If they say yes, what you do is you go to the system and you register all those other L numbers as well. But on the options you say, will not submit a WSP. That way the system automatically checks on the Department of Higher Education's grant file, look at your L number, see if there's any sub-files, and then associate the grants with the L number, even though you do not submit a WSP. And because of the verification document showing that this L number is associated with other L numbers, in terms of the Gazette and the regulation, you then are entitled to claim those grants as well. So that's, hopefully will save you some money, those of you that are in that situation. Okay, then I've spoken about the one document, and then the page 16 and further deals with the details of the source data. I quickly just want to ask you to page to that page. So if you look at page 16, people, what we've done on page 16 and further is you can see there's a table there, and there's another table on page page 19. What those two tables are doing is it's saying to you that if you prepare your data, please take cognizance of the field values as prescribed in these tables. Example, if you're looking for SA Citizen and you've done an export from VIP payroll, VIP payroll for SA Citizen, as an example, would have a Y and an N. You can't load the Y and N because this system works with yes and no. So just check the values on these tables and make sure that correspond to the values that you upload. When you prepare your learning data, please check on page 19, because page 19 tells you what the lookup values are. And then the important thing to note here is that there's a hyphen, there's an underscore and not a hyphen in the data. So when you upload, for instance, KwaZulu-Natal as a province, I know that you spell KwaZulu-Natal with a hyphen, but the Excel version that we use prefers an underscore because we've used that as a range name as well. And you can't do a range name with a hyphen, you can only do it with an underscore. So it's small things like that I'm asking you, please just check these fields when you prepare your data set. I know it's a bit ridiculous, but that's the way to get around. Okay. Then on page 4, if you can just put page to page 4, you will see that where is it now? Yeah, that's a section or paragraph 6. It gives you an indication of the feedback that you might be getting. Example, if you get feedback that says that your verification document is queried, it just explains what that is about. That's on page. Let me just quickly check. can't I find it now? Let me just check. I'll come back to it just now. Then the template specifications, please use the version that's on the website for this year, not last year's one. OFO version, there's one or two anomalies that are fixed, that's not a big issue. Then what I've done on the source data is I've added, at the top of the columns, I've added a note that I want you just to check, so that if there's, for instance, it tells you what the specific details are of the columns. I'll show you that now. And then I've spoken about that. Okay, people, the source data has, for this year, it's got the bio data, and then it's got the training data in a different sheet. So you don't have those 12 or 10 columns to the right in the bio data. Now, the beauty of that is, and I've seen it last night, the lady had uploaded 150,000 rows of training data, so it's very big. It's 32,000 people. And what she did was, as she got the data from, for instance, Tshwane University of Technology, they would send her, it's a big company, so I would say there's about 15 or 20 or even 1,000 people from this establishment, that data that they've sent her. Now, you don't have to now go and sort of find these people and put them next to the name and all of that. All you do is you make sure that the data set is clean. How do you make sure it's clean? By looking at page 19. So you use the person is busy with a national first degree. Use that value. Then you look at what they're studying. You use that as the next value. You put the status to busy, and the year enrolled, you make whatever the year was. So you prepare the data set as that. What you then do is you take that complete set of 1,000 records, and you copy paste special that into the into the training sheet. So you don't have to associate them with the various people one by one. The condition is that in column B, now all of this I'll explain just now when I open the spreadsheet, I just can't jump between all this. In column B of the spreadsheet, this is column B, the number that you use in your training data, in other words the reference number, must be the same reference number that you've used in your bio data for the individual. Example, in the mining environment, the people are, obviously, because there's a lot of people coming from outside, they use passport numbers. Now, the problem with the passport number is that changes. So, when the people go to Zim and come back, they get a new passport number. Now, and then when they have the new passport number coming in, then the training that they've done in the previous cycle is no longer associated with that individual because he came back with a different passport number. So that's one scenario. If that's a scenario that you're dealing with, in other words, there's an inconsistency with people's passport numbers or ID numbers, then I'm saying, or we suggest, then please use their employee number. As long as what you use in the bio data and what you use in the training data is of the same reference and the same format. Now let me just explain that quickly. Same reference. If you use ID number, use ID number in both. ID, obviously passport, okay? If you use employee number, you must use employee number in both. You can't use a hybrid of the two because the system is not going to be able to link the two. Because what the system now does is in this column, in the training data, as I said, this lady's got 150,000 rows of information. In the bio data, she only has 30,000. Now the report that's generated is now saying how many people are of this OFO code. You didn't put any OFO codes on this sheet, but you've got all the OFO codes on this sheet. The system links the two, pulls the record, and then gives you the data. But it can't do that if there's a discrepancy between the two data sets. So make sure it's of the same nature. The second thing that you have to do is you have to make sure it is of the same format. Now let me just explain that quickly. I'm sorry. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. Because you are working in two sheets, Excel sometimes changes, I'm very sorry about that. Excel changes the format. Now what is the format? In the biodata, if you have the ID number, you will remember that sometimes the ID number looks garbled. It's got a little plus and all kinds of characters in there. It's because that ID number, the format is not number but text. And then in the training sheet, it's the other way around. So if the two data sets is not of the same format, it won't make the link. And if it doesn't make the link, it's going to show an error. Okay. All we are saying is, and I've put that on page 19 if I remember correctly, please just check, because I've shown you and I've reminded you how to update format, and that's simply by right-clicking on those cells and then changing it to number, and then that should work. Okay. So
this is your point. If you need to point to anything,
that's fine. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Right. Okay. I've spoken about that. I've spoken about all of that. Right, people, now you would remember this morning when I started with that roadmap, I had that last arrow to the right saying update your biodata. Let me just quickly explain that. And this is to me sometimes because I deal with the data that you get to help the CETA understand what you're giving in terms of the workforce. And year after year we find that people have to basically do their data sets. So let me give you a suggestion of the way forward. One of the problems that we sit with is the minister have to report to Parliament on the number of artisans that are possibly being able to be trained or upskilled in a specific sector. The problem is that if you had recorded using the word artisan in your WSP, it is it is completely meaningless to the CETA. Because if you say I've got 15 or 20 or 40 artisans, or what do you call an artisan that's under training? Apprentice. So if you say on your data sheet you've got 44 apprentices, the CETA is blind to what apprentices they are. They could range anything from a chef, because that is a trade, all the way through to a hairdresser. Okay? Now I know in your environment, if you're in the water side of it, you might be using water to wash people's hair, but it doesn't make you a hairdresser. Okay? Point is, what we are suggesting is that please try and use job titles that are descriptive and not non-descriptive or general. And this is now part of the fixing of the data. So what we advise is that you say, okay, if I use the organization structure filter, which is a field that I have now renamed on the source data, and you use the post reference column, which is another field that I've re-referenced in the source data. And you say to your people, when you export the data, because you've never done this before, let them export the organization structure for you, and let them export the post data, the post reference number for you. Because if you now prepare your data set using those two, and you then have to say, okay, I have an artisan, but the one works in the maintenance section and the other one works in the metal workshop. But both of them are called artisans. So in principle, I should be able to map them to different occupations. Okay. So what we do is we say, right, what you do is you use the organization structure filter column as a filter, and what you then do is you say, right, in the maintenance section, that artisan is actually an electrician. So put dash electrician in the job title, because there's no rule saying that you can't update job titles. The only problem is that you have to give that back to the HR people to say, stop calling the guy artisan, start calling him artisan dash electrician, because then we know what we're dealing with. And then because you ran this filter, you can now map those two to electrician, and because you ran the filter for metal workshop, you can map that artisan, which you now call artisan dash welder, to a fitter welder. Now can you see what's happening to your data quality? It increases dramatically, and if you now have to run filters on how many people do you have that are welders, because Glory is going to send you a mail to say they have space for 20 welders for this semester to start with training. You then run a filter by using the OFO to find those specific artisans, and you've mapped the apprentices in the same way. Now here the important thing is that a lot of you are using assistant workshop or assistant electrician or something like that. That's what you're supposed to be using. But now in your job titles you just made all of them assistant. So you don't know whether the guy is pushing a broom, washing a car, or carrying the toolbox for the plumber. If he carries the toolbox for the plumber, we are saying please make that assistant dash plumber, because if he's been watching you plumbing for all these years, he doesn't only know how you whistle, he also knows how you do the job. And if he knows how you do the job, it's easy for that guy, if he has the maths and science sorted out, to go that route, and that's what the minister is looking for. So can you see? And then when you've done this, you then take this data set when you're done with your WSP, and you then ask your HR people to take this updated data set to update your house list, and that way you increase the quality of your product. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. On page 16, I noticed that the organizational structure filter and the post reference, they are optional.
Yes.
So we don't really have to.
No, that's what I'm saying. What I said this morning about that red arrow, and what I'm saying now is optional. But remember, we're trying to establish best practice as well. You don't have to do it, but if you don't do it, then please consider doing it, because it increases the quality of your data. If you already have it, then please don't bother. So, okay. The last point on this, because you have the post reference here as well, when you now give your data back to your HR people, they can use the post reference to update the house list, because the post reference would then take the new data and make that the post data. That's why we've got that, but that's why it's optional. So the one option is to filter, the other option is to write the data back, but that's up to you to do that. Okay, right, people. Then the other thing that we are looking at is a process where we start looking at for specific business units, for specific industries, to have occupation-specific rules being built. Example: if you are in the EW theatre environment, okay, the chances are about zero that any of you would report on military practitioners. Is that true or false? Yet every year, some of you insist on mapping some of your operators to special forces operators. Now, can you hear what that does to data? The moment we do the analysis, suddenly in the EW environment, there are now military professionals, nogal killer kind of geitjies, because those are the people that are trained as special forces operators that you report on, which is still fine. But then some of you also insist on having government officials on your payroll, because you map them to senior government manager, senior government official. And only those of you that are working for government should be using those occupations. So if you claim that you have such people on your payroll, you're actually admitting to bribes. Okay. So what are we saying? We are saying we will check your data. And when we check your data, we would like to argue that in some instances the data mapping that you've done is just outright wrong. You should not have a military professional in your data set. So when you get your data back, in other words, when you get the response back from the theatre, and it says WSP ATR submission queried, invalid mapping. That implies that you've used data or you've used mapping that just doesn't make sense. Now, in some of the theatres, we've really bogged this down to a T. For this environment, we only have the outer circle, which is this shouldn't be. The rest of the stuff, the theatre hasn't done yet. But so when you get feedback, you will at least get a notion of this shouldn't be. So this is where that is coming from. Where would you read that? You will see that on the pop-up tool that's in the OFO mapping. You will now see a thing that says rules and considerations. If that rules and considerations has a value in other words, there's a sentence or a message in there, please read the message, because it's saying to you, chances are you're wrong with the mapping, or reconsider what you're doing. Okay. So that's what this is about, and this ties to that outer red circle that I've spoken about. Example: if you are having a need to map a quality person, and you think of mapping it to an agricultural or horticultural produce inspector, the system is telling you, we saw you map this last year, use it last year. We're telling you now you shouldn't be using it because you're not in the agricultural environment. If, however, because I know there's some of the people, especially in the water side of the EW environment, that are in the agricultural environment, then obviously it doesn't apply to you. So it can't be a hard and fast rule. We can't disqualify you. But at least it's telling you you are about to make a mistake with this mapping. And if you still insist on using it, it's not because you are making a mistake. It's because it was an informed decision. Okay, I'm not going to deal with this. The only thing I want to touch on is when you do the mapping, people, you will see on the mapping tool, it's got the code 900,000. And the code 900,000 is for mapping learners to your house list. Now let's just get this rule sorted out, please, once and for all. When you have somebody that is a bursar at this establishment, the chances are about 100% that you know what the person is studying. So you will have this person is doing a diploma in engineering or a diploma in electrical whatever. And because that is the diploma the person does, the chances are very good that you would know that because it's a diploma in engineering, it's electrical engineering, there's such a code. So you can actually map that person to the code for electrical engineer. Now why do we want that? Because in your job title you said bursar. All we are asking is don't make all 900 bursars just bursar, because then the theatre doesn't know what bursars they are. So again, that previous thing that I've asked, change bursar to bursar dash electronic engineering. Then map that person to electronic engineer. That way, when the theatre gets the data, they know that of the 20,000 bursars in the establishment, or people that are studying, this is what they are studying towards. But there are exceptions. If I'm doing, for instance, a degree in human sciences, or in political sciences, I have no idea, well, maybe I shouldn't put it that strong, but usually people can't foretell in what position I'll be working, okay? So in those instances, you're welcome to use the 900,000. In other words, when the study field is not necessarily predictive of the occupation, then you would use 900,000. But please don't use 900,000 throughout, because it makes the theatre blind to your profile, okay? Second condition, we did give you code 0. Code 0 means no mapping. In other words, I couldn't find an occupation for the specific job. You're welcome to use code 0. You just type in no mapping and you'll find it. But I'm asking that you please use that in exceptional cases. The theatre will respond by saying overuse of no mapping, which means if more than 5% of your house list was mapped to 0, the theatre is saying your data is becoming useless because you have mapped too many people to code 0. You didn't apply enough attention to this. Now people are saying, Yuri, but this is ridiculous. I'm saying it's not ridiculous. Remember, the minister wanted to close the theatres down. One of the reasons why he wanted to close them down is because of the data that the theatres produce. And he's saying, I'm telling the theatre that they must have a credible mechanism for skills planning. And that credible mechanism, one of the aspects of the credible mechanism is asking you for proper data sets. That's why we're building this. It's not trying to make your life difficult. It is so that the data's quality increases. Right. I've spoken about the job titles. In the last, just on these slides, people, your submission has to be in end of April. Now please, a submission is not a source data that was uploaded. I'm going to say that again because I believe some of the people want to take the theatre to court. If you wait for the evening of the 30th of April, which I think is a Sunday, okay, then we should call you Klasvaki because you waited until the very last minute. You have set yourself up for failure because of a few reasons. There's no support that night. Secondly, a data upload is not a WSP submission. So by the end of this process, you had to upload your verification document that's signed, and that signed verification document had to make its way to the theatre. That could arrive at the theatre after the date, but you had to upload that already and responded to the query. Secondly, the signed WSP, last 3 pages, had to at least be uploaded to the system by the end of this process, and then make its way to the theatre. If you now claim that by the very last night, 2 minutes before 12, you couldn't upload, hey, I don't know. People, there are theatres, there are companies sitting in this theatre that's lost millions last year because they uploaded the source data only and thought that is a submission. It is the signed WSP. So if I stand to lose R1,000,000 or R4,000,000 in terms of grants, I'll make sure that that upload and at least confirmation of the upload is given to the theatre by close of business that Friday, not wait until the Sunday night for that. Please, I don't want to, but I don't want to belabor the point. It's up to you to go that process. Okay. So if we then want to look at how to now deal with the source data itself, let's just quickly have a look at that. I'm going to close this presentation, and then I'm going to take you to the template first, and then I'll take you to the system. So the template that I'm going to use, I already have data in it, just so that we're just on the same page. On page 16 and 18, if I remember correctly, of the guide where I showed you those tables, I told you that the tables has lookup values. The lookup value sheet is a sheet that you download from the system. I know you can't read here. Maybe make it bigger. If you download the lookup values, and it tells you that you have to reference qualification type. Then this reference is giving you the values that you should use in the field called highest qualifications. That is in your biodata. So if you dream up your own version of national or higher certificate, the system is going to show an error. I've given you the lookup values. Please use the lookup sheet and download that from the system. So then if I go to the template itself, this is an example of a template. What I've said to you, that some of the changes at the top of the screen, you can see it shows the flags now, so it just reminds you of what it's about. When you open, please enable the content so that the macro is live. If you now go to the right, all of the data is the same. There's the OFO. If I click on that, it pops up the OFO tracking tool. If I type in operator here, and I say search, it's going to give me all the operators. And then if I look here, just the example that I've given now, see there's Special Forces operator, that is the military person, and can you see that's now in red. So, and that red note there is telling you, please refrain from using it. So we are asking, please use this utility. And if you then read this and you're happy with it, you click on select occupation, and it will then populate your spreadsheet with the occupation. Now just on this, people, what the system does, again, there's always pros and cons to everything. If you select a mapping here, the system will check the job title. If that job title appears again in your data set, it maps all of the same job titles to the same occupation. Now if you have 20 artisans, but one is a hairdresser, the other is a chef, 3 are welders, and the rest are electricians. When you map the artisan at the top to electrician, get to the bottom, you wanted to map that one to plumber. What it does is go up the tree again, and it goes and it remaps all of those again to the one that you've mapped at the bottom. That's what I'm saying to you, change the job title with a hyphen so that it becomes a unique value. That way your process is complete. Ma'am, what you've asked for now, can you see there's the 2 options there? So in this specific instance, this person decided not to use it. But if I take this one and I make that my organization structure, then I can filter to update the artisan jobs in that area. And if I take the post reference and I make that a code, for instance, because that's what people get paid against, and I then ask them to map this back to my house list, then they know for this code, that's the new job title and that's the OFO mapping. And in terms of your occupational levels, that is the occupational level it should be. And with that value, and those values updated, there's no synergy between your OFO WSP process and your BBE process, and that's the reason why we advise on that. Okay, so that's the one thing about the source data. The second thing is, that's the one option that I didn't mention, is that you don't use employee number, you don't use ID number, you don't use passport number, you use your own sequence number. But if you do that, again the condition is, if I use a sequence number and I duplicate the sequence number, can you see there? Now I've got 2 of the same. When I upload this, it's going to show an error because I've got a duplicate in the first column. If I go to the training sheet, can you see there's not applicables there or not availables? Because that one that I've just changed doesn't exist anymore in the biodata. So if I go back and I change that to 63 and I go back here, can you see it's gone now? Because it found those reference numbers And what it does is it returns the person's name to tell you that that person is in the biodata as a check. So if it doesn't exist, again I'll just show you this. If that number stop existing, can you see it says at the top, there are people that doesn't appear in the first sheet. Now typically this is going to happen when you get your biodata from the training your training data from the training provider. And during the year, this person died in a car accident. So when you did your data export, you forgot to tell the people that they shouldn't export the data as of yesterday. They should have exported your biodata from 1st of January 2016 to yesterday. Got that? All those people that have left your environment, you will make the employment status terminated. Which doesn't mean you killed them, it means they've left. Okay? The system will now take the terminates and not include them in your current house list count. But it will use their data to calculate the training done. And typically the reason why there's a discrepancy between the two sheets is because those people that have left, they didn't bring across when you asked for your biodata. Okay. So that's that. Scarce skills are, that's the same as last year. All we're asking is please check that top block there. And then also remember that if you select a value here, you have to populate all the cells. You can't leave them blank. If you don't have anything to say, put no comment or a 0. But it's going to show an error if you leave this blank. And we've done that because a lot of you didn't bother to fill this in, and the minister is frowning about it, and we're all afraid of him. Okay, and then the finance sheet is the same as last year. Only difference is, again, we are insisting that you fill in all the sheets, all the cells. So I've left you a love letter there to say please complete. And then if you fill it in, if you have nothing to say, put a 0 or a no comment. But you have to read all the way to the bottom of this sheet and fill in either a no comment or a 0 so that you can update that. Then you save this information. And then once you've saved it, you are then ready to upload your information. So doing that, we are now at 11:33. I would like to ask your permission to continue until 12 o'clock. Then we're done. Is it fine? I see they bought lunch. I can bribe you with that. Is it fine? Fine. Okay. So this is the EW sheet. I've now put some data into it. I'm going to go to the system, and that's what the system looked like. So what I'm going to do is I'm advising that for now, because EW has not updated the link on their website yet, that I know of, for you to log in, you're going to use the web address called Skilogical. And Skilogical is the new IT Aware brand that we're using. Skilogical is spelled with 2 L's, and I'm now uncertain of what is written here or not. Let me just quickly check. Okay, on page 7 of the guide, it is saying start by going to the EWCETA website, click on WSP-ATR portal link or go to, and it says itaware.co.za/EWCETA. I'm asking please just take that out and type in there www.skilogical.com. Got that? Right, so now you said I must click on proceed, no? Advanced? Now when you get this message that I've just got now to say that this is unsafe or whatever, it's because the ports are being blocked. So then please ask your IT people to use one of those ports and it should unblock it. And then you click on proceed so you can carry on. The site is safe. Now if you then arrive at this screen, for the majority of you, you will have to click on register. Not the majority, all of you, except those that have put up their hand to say they are independent SDFs. And if you've already registered on the system with the other CETAs, you'll use the same username and password that you've used for the other ones. The rest of you, please type in your ID number, password, save the password again, email address that is unique, click on register, and then click on finish, and that should complete the registration process. Then you go to login. If you click on login, you type in your ID number. I'm going to do that now. And then if you've forgotten your password, gents, ladies, I'm not going to do that now because I'm worried that I don't have access to my emails. Because your email address was used in association with your ID, if you now say I forgot my password and you click on forgot password there, the system will say a reset password was sent to this email address. Okay? You then check in your emails for that, and then you copy that reset password. It's the same as with the banks and all the others. The only thing to caution is that sentence that Shanu wrote to tell you this is your new password ends with a full stop, like most sentences do. And what you do is, when you copy, you are so eager to start the process that you keep on copying the full stop as well. Okay? Copy the password without the full stop, please. And then paste that into the section there. You are EWCETA, obviously, so you're going to click on that. Those of you that are independent SDFs, please take care that you select the CETA you're going to work with, because you're not going to find your details. Okay. So click EWCETA, and then you say log in. Now you see talking nonsense, I do the same thing. Then you arrive at this screen. Now the tabs on the screen I'm not going to go into now, but it is possible for a company to contact IT Aware outside this process and say, I'd like to manage my complete HRD, in other words my human capital development process, I would like to manage in a cloud solution. That is what the rest of the tabs are all about. It costs you 5,000 Rand a month, and then we manage your complete, or you can manage your complete process on this system, and your WSP then gets generated on the fly as you run the process. You can do your skills audits yourself, update your training data, all of that information using this portal and this utility to run with. For now, you only have access to the center bottom tab, which says Workplace Skills Plan. I must just say the programmers at the moment are updating these icons, so if you arrive here and it looks a bit different, please don't drink tablets or something stronger. It's the center bottom tab, just click on that. It then brings you to that screen that I've told you about before, which is, remember I said there's overview, that's overview, and I had an arrow to say please download, and there are the documents that you can download. That's there's the presentation that I've used for today, and there's the lookup values that I've spoken about, and there is the template for this year that you can download. Okay. People, then you will go next to the SDF details screen, click on that, and that then has all your details. Please page down, complete it right to the bottom, click save, and then go to company details. When you arrive at company details, that's what it looks like. Now you can see, because I'm one of the administrators, I have 95 people that I can view. When you come to this screen, you will only view 1 or 2. Or if you are one of those SDFs that are independent and have quite a few, and you want to just filter, what you would do is you will type in, the normal way to filter is a percentage. You type in the value that you want to use, percentage, enter. And there I've got my 2 that I want to focus on. And now I'm going to deal with that one, for instance. Make sure that you select or highlight the company that you want to work with. So if there are some of you that have more than one company, if you now go south of this screen and you didn't select the company where I'm with now, you're going to edit the wrong company details. Okay? So you select there, and then you click on edit company. If you click on edit company, you've got the company details. Can you see what I've said? That you can't change, that you can't change, and the organization name you can't change. but the training name you can, so you can edit that. Can you see industry is blank? So please update that, and then update province and all of those fields. Then you go south, you put in the rest of the details, and right at the bottom you enter the banking details as it is at the moment on your company. You click save, you click close, and that is in your company details updated. If you arrive on this screen and it's blank, in other words, there's no record in this tab here, all you then do is you go to add company there. It'll show this tab. You type your L number in there. The majority of you will keep it to independent because you don't have subs. If you are one of those people that now remember that I've said this morning that you want to add because you've got L numbers from which you can draw grants, you will make that parent, and then you enter the company. When you come back, you add the children now. You will change this to child, and if you change this to child, can you see what's happening? You now put the child L number or the sub L number there. The parent L number you record there, and then the ID number if it's not you that will be managing this process. If you're only adding this for the sake of drawing grants, then you make yourself the SDF by leaving that blank. You set this to no because you're not going to submit a WSP, and the banking details you are setting that to no as well because the company does not have its own or whatever the situation is. This is in the guide explained. Then you click on add company and you close. When you've done this, you go back and you edit the company details. That's then taking care of the first part of that process that's on that flow diagram. So having said that, you then go south on the screen, and then if you arrive here and it doesn't show 2017, it means that your session has not been activated for the company. All you would do is you would click on add submission and say proceed, and it will then refresh. You will then have 2016 listed here because it's previous years, and you will work in 2017, which is obviously this year. So I've got this company because it's a newly registered one. It's 2017, and I'm going to then, because I've edited the company details, I'm going to click on verification document, and by clicking on it, it's generated. Okay? What you would then do is you are going to click on download this, and then you go to your download folder, and from the download folder you're going to view it, print it, and then finish it. And when you're done with it, see there's all your details. And remember I told you earlier on about the signing off. Your account details you put in there, but over here your CFO has to initial each row, indicating that he is happy or she is happy with the information. They fill in the rest of the details, and then they sign it. What you then would do is, you would then take this document, scan this page only, and when you've scanned that, you are going to click on upload that scanned page. So you click here, you choose where it is on the system. I need to go and find another one because I haven't done it for this one. It's on your computer. Okay, no, it won't work. Let me. Okay, I'm not going to do it now. I forgot I'm on somebody else's computer. So what will happen is you will click on this, find the scanned document, upload it, and if I remember correctly, I did upload one. I didn't for this. But if you then want to make sure that what you've uploaded is there, you click on view, and it'll show you the uploaded document. Okay. So that's then the verification process completed. The company would, the cheetah would check the details, and if they're happy with it, they would then go to this screen. This is not part of your process, but it's part of their process, and they would say, okay, I'm not going to do that now. I'm happy with this. If they look at your verification document, they would say it is queried. The reason why it's queried is can't see the whatever, and then you say, they would say save, close, There you can see the status, okay, of the process. And can you see there it pops up, can't see the signature or whatever. Okay, so that's the way that you check the system. Right. So now the last part of the process, we're almost done. You then go to the upload source data, you click on the upload button, choose a file, and I worked on this one. It's uploaded thanks to our internet man with like a fast connection. I click on process, the upload file. Okay. Generate the WSP. Okay. Close this. And I now go to the WSP icon. I click on that. And there's my WSP done. Okay. Now you can see the watermark indicating that there's errors. I had 10 records. Only 8 was uploaded, so there's an error somewhere. And so I need to go back to fix it. What I now do is I go to WSP data quality. And I see that there, in summary, there is 2 errors on the data. And it tells me that number 46 is now a duplicate record. Remember just now I changed that from 63 to 46. So I go back, I change it back to 63, re-upload, errors will be gone, Bob's your uncle. If it's another error such as male is spelled incorrectly or African has 2 F's in it or whatever, I would click here, it'll show me the value that I should use. I select that, I say fix records, refresh the error list, and it updates my records for me on the system. I don't have to upload the information. And then I go back, I say refresh the error list, I'm happy with that. I go back there and I can then regenerate my WSP and then it's done. And then the last part of the process is I would then go to the right here and I would then upload the 3 pages of the signed verification WSP document, and the CETA will comment on that as well, and I can watch the process unfold by looking at the statuses as they run the process. Ultimately, can you see there's the extensions if you want that. That's your WSP process completed, and then ultimately when you want to see what's happening to your grants, that will come live, and then you can see the grant payment disbursement process happening from that viewpoint. Last thing I'd like to show you is if you then have a problem, something that you'd like to record or tell us about, or that you have something that you require some support for, you would click on support over here, and you can see there's already people that are logging calls. That one is open, in other words, somebody has just mentioned, just logged that one. Today's the 8th, yes. And so if you go to the south here, you then type your information in, or whatever you want to put as a note. You can see it's still open. We will then go, and for this example, we've given this person a message to say this is what we want you to do, and then that will then resolve the matter. If there's more problems, then you would log another call. If you phone in, you would give us that number. We will check what's happening, and when it's, for instance, a pending, it means that somebody in the technical environment is working on it at the moment. But you'll be able to see, hopefully, yeah, there you can see, if you click on that, refresh the stakeholder to EW. So that is something that our technical people have to update. And that's the process, people. Any questions? Yes, ma'am.
On the training sheets, are we only reporting ATR or including training?
No, the training sheet, if you are are you independent STF? Okay, if you, with EW and Cheetah people, they report all the learning on the training sheet. If you are with, what's the other theater? MQA, they have a different sheet. So what you'll do here is if somebody is doing an adult and training certificate, foundational, whatever, the cost is indicated and you put achieved. That achieved must be 2016. If it is 2015, you are bragging about stuff that already took place, because that's the previous reporting year. If it's achieved 2017, it's meaning that it's already in this year, that's for next year. That's achieved. If you want to report planned, okay, you would go to planned, put the status to planned, and you make the planned 2017. If it's 2018, it means it's the next reporting year. If the person is busy with a program, for instance, he is studying year TUT to becoming a whatever, you will have it as busy, and you would put the year the person had studied, or study that commenced the studies. The system will not, what the system does for busy is it just checks the status. For all others, it checks the status and the year, and it discards all where the year is old or future in terms of the achievement status. Did I answer your question, ma'am?
Yeah, because in the past, the biodata reported everything on that sheet. So
Yeah.
now all the claims have to be on the page.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, maybe I must just say that again. The biodata sheet stops after the OFO code now. In the past, you're right, it had all the training 10 times here to the right. It confused the living daylights out of people, and so we stopped that. So now what we've got is only the biodata, and all training is in the training data sheet. That's planned, busy, and done. Okay. And you don't have to report them sequentially. Can you see, for instance, Jean-Pierre de Vries here is there, and there, and there. The system would add it. So now that's what I said when I started off this morning. When you, right at the end, you wait for, let's say, Stellenbosch to send you their learner, or the people that manage the people in Stellenbosch, their records. All you do is you go to the bottom of this sheet, and then what you would do here is you would say, this is person, for instance, what was it, 46 name? Person 46, the person exists, that person is busy with a undergraduate national diploma in biodiversity. He is busy with it, and he started doing this in 2012, okay? But now let's say I received 5 of these students' records. All I'll do is I'll copy this, and I will paste it 4 times because there were 5 of them. And remember, you use paste special or this values one. You paste it, it's in, and now all I do is I go and find their records, and I add that. It's number 132 is also on this record, and you keep on adding it to the bottom. So you don't have to go and sequence the stuff to put all the people's stuff together. And then you regenerate your WSP, and you'll see as you regenerate, your numbers will grow as you add more training data to the process. Hopefully this will help make your life a lot easier, because in the past really that other process was a bit silly. Okay, right, people, and just remember to save, because else you lose your data. Okay. The last thing I just want to see, I don't know whether they've activated that yet. Remember I told you, and I see some of you are not very convinced that you should be doing it, but hopefully you'll change your mind in the future. If you now used your data, you've updated your data, you've used the system to correct the data. The problem now is your biodata is out of sync with what you have in your spreadsheet. In other words, what's on the system that you generated for your WSP is better than the source data that you've uploaded. Okay? What you then do is you go to this view uploaded data. Okay, we didn't activate that. But here, you then have your biodata sheet. All the biodata that was uploaded and corrected, you can download from this portal. And then you've got your biodata fresh. And that's what you then give to your IT people to upload your, your IT people, your HR people to update your house list.